In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to figure out the multiples when you have Afghans and any projects that are big like this. We have a repeat pattern going on here and many people inquire on how to change the size but also start off with the right number of chains right in the very beginning of the project. Today's tutorial I'm going to show you how we're going to take this Afghan and figure out the multiples together so that you can make it any size that you wish. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we have a pattern. It's called the Bernat Striped Crochet Afghan and it's using boucle yarn, which is really quite nice and thick, just like you see here. And I want to figure out what I can do in order to change the size of this Afghan, and I also do that here in the tutorial format so that I can show you how to do this Afghan with a small swatch size, because I don't need to crochet the whole thing in order to show you how to do it, because the figuring out of the stitches is actually just one particular row just like this, and many Afghans are like this. So what are we gonna do in order to figure out how to change the sizes? Well, we have to figure out the multiples, and this is how I go about doing it. Now in small swatch sizes we can draw the whole swatch very easily with the crochet symbols format, but in this kind of idea in the Afghans, are you really gonna honestly chain 85? Are you gonna write down 85 chains in the crochet symbols all the way across? Of course not. It's just way too big. So what I just do is that I subtract and do not worry about the chain 85 right off the very beginning. So it says here I go right to the first row first, and it says 2 double crochets, 5th chain from the hook, which counts as a turning chain, and it says skip the next chain and 2 double crochets in the next chain. And so what I'm gathering from this is that this is asking us to do 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and then we're skipping a stitch and then 2 double crochets. So here in format what I'm about to do, this is how I exactly do it. So I write it down and it told me that I'm doing 2 double crochets, and it said to do the 5th chain of the hook. Well, I'm not going to worry about that yet, the 5th chain of the hook, but it said to do 2 double crochets, and then it said to skip a chain from what I saw, and it said skip a chain, so there's obviously a chain here, and then it said 2 double crochets in the next. I know this is really crude, but this is exactly how I do it. So and then it says repeat all the way until the end, and it says in the instructions that there's gonna be 1 double crochet in the last chain. So what I can assume at this point is that it's telling us to do the same instructions all the way across, and I can continue to do that as many times as I want to in order to kind of understand the pattern, and I'm just doing 2 double crochets into each. So it said in the instructions it says go all the way to the 2 last chains and then skip the chain and 1 double crochet. So in the last there's gonna be 2, and it said that there's gonna be 1 double crochet in the final chain. So that means that there's gonna be 1 double crochet right at the end. So I can see this is what's happening in the pattern, but now I have to go back to the very start, and it said in there, it says 2 double crochets, 5th chain from the hook. So I would do the first chain. Okay, so I'd go so I'm going to go 1, okay, and then I'm gonna, and so that would be my number 5. So this will be 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I can tell in this thing that this is what my starting chain is going to look like going all the way across. Okay, so then there will be a chain here, and chain here. Okay, this is really crude, I'm telling you, but now what am I gonna do? So how am I gonna figure out what is going on in this pattern in order for me to figure out the multiples? So I'm looking more carefully at this, and the next instruction says that we're just gonna chain up 3 in the very beginning. 1, 2, 3. And that said that it counted as a double crochet, and then 2 double crochets in the space between. So there's gonna be 2 double crochets in between. And then it said 2, and we're gonna repeat that all the way across. So there will be another 2 in between. Okay, so I've got this pattern licked as far as I understand what's going on in here, and I can continue just to kind of fill in the spaces to make sense of it. and then it says in the instructions that there will be 1 double crochet in the third turning chain. So the third turning chain, I just count up and it'll be right here. Okay, so now that I've got that figured out, what am I looking for to figure out the multiples on this very first chain? I think the answer is actually 2, and the reason why I'm looking at 2 is that there seems to be one chain has the 2 double crochets and one chain is empty. One chain, 2 double crochets, and the one is empty. So I'm just gonna put a line down. These 2 are 2. These 2 are 2. These 2 are 2. And the next 2 are, so what I can see here is that if I keep going in this format, the next, there's 2 right here. And then these 2, there's 2. Just like so. And what I can see here is that I have 2 left over here, and I have 1 left over here. So I'm gonna say that this is also 2. Right in the beginning there. And so I have 1 left over right here. Okay, this right there. So I have to tell you, and I've already figured this out to know this as well, is that this particular Afghan, in going backwards the way that I did, is in multiples of 2 plus 1. So no matter what size that you're going to do for this entire Afghan, is that you're gonna go 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 until you get to the size that you want, and then you need to add 1 at the end. That's what multiples of 2 plus 1 means. So you go in multiples of 2, and then at the very end of your chain you're gonna add 1. Now different Afghans have different multiples. This one happens to be 2. Sometimes it's 3. It could be up to 20. It depends on the pattern, but this is how you figure it out. And by starting on this, on the first row, when there's interesting stuff going on, you can figure it out really quickly. The only time you cannot figure it out on row number 1 is if it says to do 1 single crochet in each, and then the next pattern of row number 2 or 3 is the start of the repeat pattern instructions. So in that case, that's where you'll start instead of starting on row number 1 if that option is not available to you. So that's how I figure out multiples using for Afghan sizes, using a small sample, just figuring out exactly what we're doing and using the repeat pattern instructions in order to figure everything out. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay tuned next time for more free ideas and patterns coming ahead. We'll see you. Bye bye.